Hey, hey. Movement 2. I dove as a girly boy. I grew up in a queendom. Zulu women, Dahomey women, Congo women, Ashanti women, Yoruba women, they carried me on their head. These gap-toothed women taught me, toughened me up, wiped away tears. These wide-hipped women made worlds out of deep laughter and beautiful music. I come from Mississippi women, Chicago women, Iowa women, women who walk on water when they wanted to, cursing women, drinking women, smoking women, fucking women. Women as soft as peach skin and hard as the nuts that fall from shade trees. They live in me and through me. They protect my head. They hold me up high. Their indigo stained hands. They mixed and remade me. I remade and remixed myself. They are loved and love hardly. Into the depths of their deep they weep, for love's lost and unworthy suitors. For love's not gain, they rename their losses as gains, rename their pains as pleasures, and go gallantly into the night, hardly feeling, hardly caring, hardly loving. Us pleasurable folk, us joyful folk, us earth folk, us saltwater folk, us made of Mississippi mud and honey, us folk who eat and dance under full moons. My granny and them came 3 moons ago from the above and the below. They shapeshift themselves into what they wanted to be, cocoon their children in cacophonies, threaded warmth from worn out things. I come from women who quilted comfort from scraps, made delicacies from despair, made poetry out of pain. The kitchen was a holy place, a place of woman's work, a place of conjuring, of spells and incantations being whispered over concoctions and confections, ancient recipes being recycled, the past cooking itself into the present. My mother and my aunt sitting around a kitchen table were the first writers I knew. The stories they exchanged with one another as necessary as water. These holy griots, their tongues containing timeless tales of survival, of making it through, of making a way in the wilderness when there was no way in sight. My great-grandmother was the grande dame of storytelling, a weaver of words. My family's parties were pure performance. There was no greater show to watch. All I remember are the delicious smells, the glorious sounds, and the movement, the majestic images of black bodies in motion. These women are kinked, coiled, and curled. Jerry curl juiced, coconut oiled, and shea buttered for the gods. They are afro picked and wide tooth combed. There is blue magic hair grease and lustrous pink lotion in the bathroom. There are Terry McMillan and Elan Harris books on the nightstand. There is The Color Purple and In Living Color on the TV screen, BET and MTV. I am round, brown, and precocious, sneaking and reading Elan Harris, skipping to the sex scenes. Books, my first love. They demanded my attention, the feel of the binding on my fingertips, the smell of a print-filled page. All these things enticed me. I devoured them like my life depended on it. I lived in a world made of words, sounds, images, a fantasy land. Getting lost in a world of words was my only pleasure, my only solace. I survive off songs, and dance is my first language. I am a honeyed hush in a sea of roars. People have so much to say and yet say nothing at all. As my granny used to say, everybody got shit to say, but ain't got shit to say. I have so many words unspoken, so much to say, but so little comes out. I needed to write because I needed a voice. I needed a voice in the world, a voice in a world full of voices that were for the most part getting it all wrong, and still are. I needed to intervene, so to speak, to open up a path for me and other people like me. I knew early on that that was my purpose, my destiny. The instinct was always there. The impulse to write was innate. And so wrote I did. Wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. Wrote till my hands grew numb. Wrote and 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 wrote. Wrote, wrote, and wrote, and wrote, and wrote, and wrote, and wrote, and wrote. Wrote, wrote, and wrote, and wrote. Wrote, 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 wrote, and wrote. What are the things that we do with words? She says. It is the first day of class, and she looks at me. I stare back at her. I am tongue-tied and twisted. Nothing will come out. My words won't do what they're supposed to do. They get stuck in my throat sometimes and float in my mind. I try to reach down into my esophagus, but I always end up eating my words. And in the dawn day doom before noon, I finally spit out of my mouth words that sound like gibberish and don't make no damn sense. My classmates look at me strangely, look at me as if I am an other, as if I'm speaking a foreign language and something out of this world, yet it is something of it. I am outside of it and inside of it at the same damn time. Big yet small, crooked and wound up and tall. I can't form words. I find it hard to say sometimes what I'm really feeling. It is in my nature to stop and shout, but I can't seem to sound it out. I spell my name backwards and forwards, but it still don't sound right. I can't sound it out. 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 What are the things we do with words? 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 What are the things we do? What are the things we do with words? 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 What are they? What are their meaning? And what good do they do anyway?